everybody. Today's conversation revolves around the woman, and specifically the pregnant woman. But before we dive into that, you know, it's February, right? And February 14th often takes the stage because it's the day that you're supposed to gift the person that you love. And that's great. And yes, you should gift others, but why not gift yourself as well, ladies and gentlemen? And the best place to do that is over at My Dawa, where they have a bunch of products and you can just take time to spoil yourself, whether you want to invest in skincare or, I don't know, perfume, something lovely for yourself. Check them out. There's also a discount code that you should use when you're at the checkout. It's S15, and you get 15% off. You can head over to their website, which is www.mydawa.com, or just download the app on Google Play. Now, today's guest is a very lovely lady. Her name is Esther Kimani, and she's a certified nutrition advisor and a lactation specialist and a certified doula. She supports and walks with parents so that they can fully enjoy the parenting journey during pregnancy, birth, and beyond. So let's dive into the conversation. Esther Kimani, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much.
I have a bunch of questions that I want us to dive into.
Okay.
That take us through, you know, pregnancy, birth, and thereafter.
Yes.
Because there's a lot of talk and speculation and myths. But that's why we have the expert here today. We have the certified doula.
Yes.
So let's talk about the discomforts that come with pregnancy quite often. And I'm going to just name a few, and you can break down what it looks like and also how to combat it.
Okay.
And the first is heartburn, which I hear a lot of women complain about.
Yes. Yeah. So what happens during pregnancy is, number one, the hormonal changes. And what happens is that because of these hormonal changes, they slow down digestion so that there's maximum absorption of food. And because it's slowed down, everything goes haywire. So you find that you'll get heartburn because of the hormones, but also as the baby grows bigger, then the baby's taking up a lot of space, and your gut is pushed against the wall. Your everything is just pushed out of the way.
Yeah, everything just feels like it's so much smaller.
So you find that, of course, heartburn is one of the discomforts. So one of the ways to handle that is, number one, make sure that you avoid taking food with water. You know the way people, you're eating and then you're also taking some water, because now there's so much fluid in, and the food also is there, so that will cause heartburn. So maybe first finish your food, then take your water later, after like maybe 30 minutes or so. Another one is avoid eating food too close to bedtime. So you need to eat early enough so that you're upright, to allow everything to just settle, because if you lie down, everything flows back up, and then of course you're uncomfortable. The other thing is avoiding spicy, very heavy, spicy food. Because as you know, spicy foods,
that's true.
Already they make your digestive system a bit
it just changes.
So avoid spicy food. And lastly, get plenty of rest. Studies show if a mom is not resting enough, she's not sleeping enough, the heartburn tends to also occur much more than if you were resting.
What about constipation?
So again, the same thing.
There
is a slowdown of the gut. And so that causes constipation. Again, the space, it's all to do with the baby pressing on, you know, your rectum. So there's less space for the food to navigate out. So lots of fiber, eating foods that are high in fiber, like fruits and vegetables and whole wheat and all that. Plenty of water too. You know, hydrate yourself well. Sometimes during pregnancy you don't feel like taking water, but that,
it's the number one thing I remember hearing.
People say it doesn't taste good. But if you don't take water, then you're gonna be in trouble. And then going when you feel the need to go. So let's say you're walking around, and you know, as women especially, you're like, oh, I want to go to my nice, clean,
my comfortable bathroom.
So if you keep doing that, like you feel the need, but you hold it, again, constipation will come. So immediately you feel like going, get to the nearest place and go. So those are like tips to help constipation.
That's a good one. Morning sickness, which, by the way, it shouldn't be called morning sickness.
It's all day long.
It's all day long. And it's not even necessarily stuck to a certain trimester. For me, it felt like it even threw a little bit to my third trimester.
Me too. Even the day I was giving birth, I was still throwing up. So sometimes it's throughout
it's
the
just
day.
sickness. It's just vomiting
It's
a
all
lot
vomiting.
and nausea.
Yeah.
How do you combat that?
So again, hormonal changes especially,
Yeah.
most of it. But little tips, number one, avoid getting out of bed, like jumping out of bed. Like, so
Right.
wake up slowly. Put your alarms where you know you'll have like 10-15 minutes before
Yeah.
jumping out of bed.
Okay.
Because that change in pressure, you know, you jump out, you're running around,
Yeah.
will make you nauseous actually throughout the day.
Yeah.
So wake up slowly. Maybe have a snack on your bedside.
Okay.
Something that is maybe a starch, like a piece of bread or some ginger biscuits,
Okay.
or something that, or a fruit that you can fast eat, because most of the time it's also caused by low blood pressure. So
okay.
or low blood sugar, it can
Yeah.
be any of them.
Yeah.
So you want to eat something, so wake up slowly, eat something small
Okay, yeah.
before you get out and about.
Yeah.
And you can have candy, just to reduce that yucky
Right.
taste in the
Yeah,
mouth that
yeah.
sometimes triggers the nausea.
Uh-huh.
And then know yourself.
Okay.
Try and figure out what seems to trigger
Trigger.
it. If it's
Yeah.
if it smells, for example, maybe don't pass there where you usually pass,
Yeah.
where there's that smell that
Yeah.
seems to irritate you.
Yeah.
And then get plenty of rest again. If you
Okay.
don't sleep, and you know, especially in the first trimester,
Yeah.
there's this tiredness that comes, that you just want to sleep all the
Yeah,
time.
right.
So again, if you don't sleep, so sneak a nap in your car, at your desk at lunchtime, you know,
Right.
do
Just
stuff like that
relax your
to
body.
relax. And finally, avoid getting hungry.
Oh,
The minute you get hungry, nausea. So you should carry a snack,
little snack.
little snacks through the day. Have, if the minute you start feeling hungry, you
Yeah.
eat, you'll vomit. So you just want to avoid
Right.
actually getting hungry.
So why is it that certain foods that didn't trigger you before now can make you want to throw up? What it?
Hormones.
Okay.
These hormones, these pesky hormones.
So interesting.
Yes.
And tell me about ginger, because I used to hear a lot about that.
Yeah.
The ginger helps. What
Ginger
about it?
naturally helps nausea, combats
Okay,
nausea,
okay,
and that's
okay.
why it's one of the #1
Yeah.
relief aids. And then
Yeah.
it's not medicine, and so you can, you know, chew on it or take it along the way. But if your nausea and vomiting is really bad, your doctor should be able to prescribe something
Yeah.
to relieve that.
Right.
Yeah. Again, don't suffer so
Right.
much because you're pregnant. There's actually
Yeah.
medications that are safe to be used during pregnancy.
Yeah.
For some people, we've seen that, especially if it's really extreme, supplements like magnesium are great. Vitamin, the B complex vitamin.
Okay.
So again, you can talk to your doctor about
Yeah.
using that to help you combat the nausea.
Right. You
Yeah.
talked about fatigue, which just creeps up out of nowhere,
Nowhere,
and it's
yeah.
like a sluggishness.
Yeah.
Is there a way to combat that, or do you just give in?
Just give in, because first of all, when you get pregnant, your blood volume multiplies by 2. So your lung capacity increases. So your heart has much more work.
What do you mean? Your blood volume multiplies by 2?
Yes, to be able to carry the baby. So the volume of blood like you have now when you're not pregnant,
Yeah.
by the time the first trimester is coming to an end, it's doubled by 2. So your lung capacity increases. So it means your heart is pumping much more blood than you had before. So what happens? You'll get really tired because your heart is trying to cope with this new thing that is coming. And that's why in the first trimester, people get really tired because people wonder, the baby's tiny.
Yeah,
How
why
come
are
I'm
you
so
so
tired?
tired?
It's because of that. Yeah.
Isn't the female body a
It's
beautiful
amazing.
thing?
It's amazing.
My
Yeah.
goodness. Okay,
Yeah.
sciatica. Let's talk about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And
what-
first, what is it? In
Yeah.
case people don't know.
Sciatica is related more to the back, your spine, pain that comes on your back, and usually will shoot down to your foot.
Yeah.
And it will shoot down, especially when you're walking or when
Yeah.
you're sudden movements.
Yeah.
And so this is caused again by mostly the pressure of the baby, and that's why it's common in the second and third trimester.
Okay.
And the pressure of the baby where the baby is lying.
Yeah.
And amazingly, exercise can help. So we have pelvic and exercises that the mother can do to shift the baby so that the baby stops lying on that part of your back and you get more comfortable.
Wait, what
Yeah.
are those exercises? Now I feel maybe we'll demonstrate it in a bit. But
Yeah.
like, so what
Yeah.
so you're shifting
You're
the baby.
shifting the baby. Like for example, you can go on your all fours and then you rock back and forth. And so what you're doing, that baby whatever was the part of the baby that was pressing on that nerve, because it's about a nerve,
Yeah.
is able to shift and you get some relief.
So do you like massage your body as you do as
Not
you're like
necessarily.
So you just like
on
you're
all
on all fours
fours,
and
then you're rocking back and forth. And what you usually do, you would hunch your
back
like an angry cat.
Okay.
And then because that when you do that, that
Yeah.
creates a space on your pelvis, because when you do that, there's a space, and so you rock back and forth so that the baby can fall into that place. And you get some relief. So there's some things that you can do.
Where were
apart
you?
From
Where were you for those nights? I want to redo it again and then have you like Gladys on speed dial. Wow.
Yeah.
That
so
is such a good point.
Yeah.
Wow.
So there are many exercises. So I mean, don't suffer too much.
Yeah.
Sometimes, because people go for physiotherapy, but it really doesn't take it away. But that is actually quite effective. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, it's incredible. Just even knowing that there's a way you could shift.
Yeah.
Besides just being
Just
like,
like
stop.
move.
Excuse me. Let's talk about swelling, particularly around the ankles.
Yeah.
Maybe sometimes even the fingers.
Yeah. So swelling again, pressure of the baby, pressing down on your limbs, and so that circulation is not as good.
Yeah.
So you'll have swellings in the legs. We're usually a bit concerned about swelling in the hands and the face and the rest of the body, because sometimes it's indicative of maybe blood pressure, your pressure becoming high during pregnancy, preeclampsia, and such issues. Yeah. So if you're swelling in your face and your hands, especially if it's sudden, please see your doctor. But legs, puffy ankles, that's really normal.
Yeah.
Again, trying to elevate your legs, and elevating means that it's not on the same level as your head. So you put like a pillow so that your feet are above your head. Because I see people elevating like straight up. Yeah, so it needs to be slightly higher than your head.
Right.
Taking lots of fluids. When you don't take water, your body holds water, because it's like we don't know when next we're gonna have some fluids. So of course that will lead to swelling. So take lots of fluids often, and that will help you like reduce. Wearing comfortable shoes, flats. Sometimes not too flat. It needs to be just a slight wedge. Again, with a cushion, because sometimes if it's also too flat, that will create some pressure on the back of your legs, and that can lead to swelling.
So relax on the heels, and if you wear heels, it's for a short
period of time. And then, of course, if you're gonna stand for long, keep shifting positions. So don't sit for too long or stand for too long, or shift.
Okay, I have one more here before we have to take a break. Headaches.
Yeah.
How do you deal with that, especially since you don't want to keep popping?
Actually, it's hydration.
Okay.
Again, your blood volume is ×2.
Yeah.
So your requirements for fluids also doubles.
Yeah.
So if you're not taking enough fluids, you're going to have headaches.
Yeah.
So that's actually the #1 cause of headaches. But if it's very bad, worst headache in your life, again, see your doctor. That's not normal. Yeah.
Whoa. I mean, this has been so enlightening, just like breaking it down.
Yeah.
Sometimes you don't even know, should you go on Google, and they say don't go on Google because you'll just find that you might have this like, what does that mean?
Scary things.
So you don't end up going, and you just end up suffering.
But you don't have to.
And there's ways you can at least mitigate or minimize
the amount of discomfort that you get.
Lovely. This has been so great. We have to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll be talking about labor and contractions and all the things they don't tell you. So don't go anywhere. We'll be back in a moment. Welcome back, everybody. We are at Pakyan by Radisson, and we've been talking about pregnancy, and now we're about to dive into labor and contractions. I've got the expert here. She's Esther Kimani. And my first question to you would be, what are Braxton Hicks, and can you, what should one expect? What are they? When do they start?
So Braxton Hicks start at from around, for some people, 28 weeks, but really get more at around 32 plus weeks. Braxton Hicks actually practice contractions. So they do not lead to labor, but they start, your uterus will start contracting. And most people ask me, I ask people, have you had a Braxton Hicks? They're like, no. But then I tell them, you know how it feels like? It feels like sometimes your baby feels like they're pressing down on you, and your tummy feels hard and tight, and then it relaxes. That's what a Braxton Hicks is. And so people don't usually know what they are. So they're practice contractions. The uterus is a muscle, so it needs to practice for this work that it's going to do later. And so they start, and the second thing that they do is they also position the baby. So your baby can be facing any side, but we need head to be facing down. So those contractions are the ones that actually keep moving the baby so that eventually the baby is facing the way they should be facing to get born. So those are what Braxton Hicks are. Yeah.
So tell us about the process of labor and contractions, and guiding anyone who's watching who might be pregnant and wants to have an idea of what to expect. How does one know? What are some of the signs, for instance, that this isn't a Braxton Hicks contraction, but this is the real deal?
Okay, so Braxton Hicks generally are not painful. True contractions, most of the time, they're accompanied by pain. They're accompanied by something that tells you, wait, what's that? Braxton Hicks, you can even be walking and you'll just feel something, but it's not painful. True contractions also will come at regular intervals. So you have, you know, one every 5 minutes, for example, or one every 6 minutes. So they tend to be very regular. So in early labor, they can be all over the place. So you get one contraction that maybe is painful, but then you don't get another one for 4 hours. So that means you're still in early labor.
So it could be spread out as far apart as 4 hours.
Or even one a day. So in early labor, it can take very long. But when we are now in what we call active labor, which is now when you go to hospital, they say you're in labor, they'll be very regular. And usually for you to know that you should be going to hospital is if you get these contractions, and we are saying that the tummy is hardening, you're feeling some pressure when the tummy is hardening, and sometimes accompanied by pain. Well, I'm saying sometimes, we had moms deliver on the road, and because they were waiting for this pain that people talk about.
Is that really true? Can someone not feel pain?
So they might not feel pain, but what usually, I've interviewed a lot of these women who, the lucky ones I call them, who didn't feel pain, but they were actually having contractions. They just didn't think as those because they were not feeling painful. But the contractions will say, oh, I was feeling pressure every 5 minutes.
But what
I was feeling pressure.
I'm just really,
so
I'm really baffled at
so it goes back to your pain threshold. Some people have a very, very high threshold for pain. So by the time they're feeling pain, and usually that's why now they start feeling pain towards the end. You know, when you go and you're told you're already 10 centimeters, that's when they're feeling pain. Because at the end when labor is ending, of course, it tends to be much more painful. So it does not mean that they were not having contractions. They just didn't interpret what they were feeling as contractions. And that's what I'm saying. You could be having that tightening of the tummy and pressure if it starts being consistent.
So then what should one do at that point when you first have your first contraction? Do you pick up a phone? How do you start?
So you can pick up your phone if you have an Android or an Apple, download a contraction app. I mean, there's an app for everything. And then you can, every time you feel that tightness, and that's what I'm saying, with or without pain, every time you feel that tightness, and then you usually would feel a bit of pressure down there, you can start noting it down. So in like 20-30 minutes, you'll see, oh, I've had one contraction. Then you know I'm not really in labor. But if you've had 5 or 6 in that 30 minutes, that tells you you're already in active labor.
And how long are the contractions?
So the contractions can be between 30 to 40 seconds long, sometimes even up to a minute.
And that's early labor?
That's still early. You're around maybe 3-4 centimeters at that point.
Yeah.
And they tend to be, a contraction tends to start slow and then it builds up and then it fades again.
Okay.
They don't tend to be too painful at that time, but it's something that will make you stop doing what you were doing and then move. So what we say at that point, if you see that, change positions. Maybe if you are lying down, get up, walk around.
Yeah.
If contractions go away, then you are not really in labor.
Okay.
But because true contractions, they don't stop coming, even if you change your positions. So these are little tricks to know when to go to hospital. Instead of going and then you're told, nah, go back home. I have people going 5 times to hospital. They're told, not yet, go back.
So and sorry, and it's, sorry.
Yeah, so it's that trying to see if I've changed positions, I've maybe even taken a birth, I've walked around, but these contractions are still coming. Then it's time to go to hospital. Yeah.
I was going to ask, so how long on average would you be in early labor? You know, like if you're saying people can go back 5 times, is it about a period of 5 days?
It can start anytime, actually from 38 weeks.
Okay.
And you can have all that for 2-3 weeks.
Wow.
Before the active labor comes. And that's why we're like, wait for active labor.
Okay.
The only reason you should go to hospital in case they've not picked up is if your water breaks. So if your water breaks, you stop what you're doing, that's usually a stop sign. Stop and go to hospital.
And why is that?
And because now the water is out, remember the water cushions the baby. And so the baby is like floating. And so when the water comes out, usually it's to test where the cord was. Because the cord could have been down and the baby could have, when the water comes out, the baby can lie on the cord, and that means they're not getting enough oxygen and fluids and just everything and air. So you need to go to hospital so that they see if the baby is okay. And then if they see the baby is okay, most times they will induce you. If they will give you maybe a few hours to wait for labor to come. If labor does not come, they'll induce you because of preventing infections, the doctors do want you to deliver within at least 18 hours. So they will want to induce you. But if your water is not broken, baby is playing as usual, you're having this on and off contractions, relax, take a walk, even go to work. And then,
and continue with your life.
Continue with your life.
So actually, that's one of the things that I felt that the TV and the movies lied to you, because I thought that's how you know. You're just like walking around the house and you're like, oh, my water is broken. And then it's like, call the doctor, we're coming. Like in my mind, I was just like waiting for the water to break. And I realized that actually majority of the time the doctor breaks the water.
Actually, around maybe 30% of women have their water break. So
only 30%.
Only 30%. So the bigger majority, their water doesn't break. Some people say the show, you know, the bloody show. So again, not everyone will see the bloody show. So the bloody show is like a blob of mucus. It will have some discharge that will come out around from around 38 weeks. Again, if you see it, you go wipe, you're seeing some mucus that has like old blood. That's okay. That's your cervix saying, I'm getting ready.
So even then, you shouldn't rush to the doctors?
Because most times, so if there are no contractions, everything is okay, you can wait on. And so keep monitoring your baby's kicks, the baby is playing as usual. And wait at home.
So now let's get into active labor and how things change at that stage. What should women expect at this point?
So in active labor now, the contractions are well established. So they'll keep coming at regular intervals. And these intervals go shorter. So you start from around 5 minutes and then every 4 minutes, then you go every 3 minutes. So they keep coming like that. And what they're doing is they're trying to help the cervix to open. And the cervix is the entrance to the uterus. So that's where the baby will have to pass through. And the cervix needs to open to 10 centimeters.
10 centimeters. Ladies, what is 10 centimeters? Is this board 10 centimeters, I wonder?
10 centimeters.
Is this about... Is this about 10 or a little bit shorter?
Yeah, a little bit shorter.
A little bit smaller.
But 10 centimeters. And so the cervix is opening. The baby is also being positioned because this baby has to navigate your birth canal to be born. So these contractions help with all that. So that's why they become closer. So well established. And for a first-time mom, we usually would say we want to give around 1.5 to 2 hours per centimeter. So active labor starts at around 3 centimeters. So when you do the math,
Wait, 1.5 to 2 hours per centimeter.
For first-time mom.
So,
yeah.
So essentially what you're saying, it could take like 10
to 14 hours.
To 14 hours.
Yes.
Or maybe even 20 hours.
Maybe even 20 hours for first-time mom.
Yeah.
It's usually faster if you've given birth before, because your body has memory. So it remembers how to open up, and your pelvis is not as tight as the first time.
But I'm curious to know, with me, I think I really just insisted, just check, and I think they indulged me because it was late, no one was there. And they checked, and I had moved 6 centimeters in about 2 hours or 3 hours, something, in a short period of time. So what could cause that? Is there anything we could do to like, be like, let's be done?
Yes. So how the baby is positioned. Remember we said the cervix is opening?
Yeah.
So how the baby is positioned, if the baby's head is so well positioned that it's placing it's helping the cervix to open. Again, the best position, so you know how your baby is born? What side of the head do we see? What do you think?
What side of the head?
I mean, when I say I can see the baby's
head, the hair.
The hair? What part of the hair?
I imagine it's this crown.
This crown. No? Actually, it's towards the
back.
Yes. Yeah.
But how do you pull out a bit?
I know. So usually what the baby does, the baby approaches with the back and that helps to push. Yeah. And when they push out, then they have to navigate and look up like they're looking up.
Wow.
So that they can be born. So if your baby was already at beginning of labor with their face, that means their face needs to face your spine.
Okay.
Yeah. For them to come out like that. So when you started labor, your baby was facing the spine, then it means that they'll take a much shorter time.
Yeah.
So if your baby was facing in front, like their back of the head was facing, the baby first will have to rotate.
So how do we get that? How do we be like, come on, baby, let's be aligned?
Oh my goodness. So think of the person in Shags.
Yeah.
Why do they keep saying people up country give birth so easily? Yeah. Because before labor started, they're always in positions that help the baby engage properly. So the baby is a passenger. They know where they're going. Yeah. And they like not to work too hard. Yeah. So if you give them the position, they'll get into position before labor. So think of a pit latrine, squatting. Think of digging, squatting. Think of the 3 stones. Their legs have to be open. So their pelvis is always open. So during those Braxton Hicks days, remember I said the Braxton Hicks position, what the baby does is like, oh, mommy has given me space. So think of the person in Nairobi. We're always seated,
lying down,
on the
couch,
legs
TV
are
on.
exactly. You know, we want to look hot, so our legs are even crossed. You know, and then you're seated in a car. It's a bucket seat, so there's never space. So the baby says, okay, we'll wait for labor, because labor, you just have to open your legs. You know, the way you can't put your legs together in labor. So now, what happens? Oh my goodness, the baby now is on the baby is trying to rotate.
I'm feeling so nervous for anyone who's pregnant. I don't want to put nerves back out there, but I'm just, I wish you all the best, but no, I mean, listen to Esther. Let me tell you something. If nothing else, you want to listen.
Yeah. So even if you're in Nairobi, when you go home in the evening, why don't you do a few squats? When you go to the loo, sit there a bit.
Squats. My friends, ladies, please squat.
So you must have been doing that, and that's why your baby was well positioned. So the labor is faster.
But
but were you active? Walking?
I was really
exactly. So in your head, maybe you want.
I think even the day I gave birth, I was like jogging.
See?
I was like, I'm gonna get this baby out as quick as possible.
Yeah,
now I almost feel I'm not pregnant, but I almost want to just do squats now in preparation
for any other that will come.
When that day comes, let me tell you something. I'll just cough and that baby will be out, because I'll be doing those squats today.
Exactly.
We have to take a quick break, but we'll be right back with more about pregnancies and our beautiful bodies. Yeah. should women expect?
By the time you're pushing, you're gonna feel the baby pressing on your rectum, because now the baby is very, very low. They're just right there at the entrance of your vagina waiting for you to do the work.
Yeah.
So during labor, the baby does most of the work.
Yeah.
And you need to help your baby along by walking, by exercise, and all those things that you do during labor. But pushing is all you. That's why it's called pushing. It's mommy who has to actually push.
Yeah.
So pushing, number one, is you should listen to your body, because your body is, there's that feeling you get that's telling you what to do. I know sometimes we tend to listen to everyone else, but if you listen to your body, you're going to push the way that your body is telling you to. And actually WHO nowadays recommends that women push on not the traditional way that we've been pushing, which is on your back, which is just the worst way to push because it's against gravity. So your baby has to navigate the tailbone, get up, and that's why it's so hard to push. So ways to push, and we want women to speak for themselves. And I'm sorry, I'm rocking the water.
No, I love it. No, continue. Yeah.
So like side lying. So if you're lying on your side and your birth partner is helping you with one leg, that's with gravity. So the baby is going to come out. You're going to push much easier. Or if you're on all fours, or if you're squatting. That's why some women, especially up country, refuse to go to hospital, because they're like, I'll be told to push when I'm lying down. But there is no reason why you can't squat on the bed. And the midwife, I love a bit of West Africa, and they've just decided to let women squat, and the women, they just put the lining on the floor, and the women squat, and voila. So like if I'm standing behind you and I hold you, you'll be able to squat, and that's much easier. So listening to your body, get in the position, speak to your doctor, tell your doctor, can I push when side lying? And doctors are actually coming on board. You just need to speak out. Can I go on all fours and you get the baby, or can I squat? And sometimes that's what your brain is telling you to, especially if you've been pushing for a long time and the baby is not coming. Secondly, push, you need to now stop. You know, like during labor, we say you should breathe in. Okay, so if you breathe in and out, you can't push.
Oh, right. So that's why you...
So you need to take a deep breath and then wait for the contractions to build up. So you want to use the strength of the contraction to push the baby. So you want to take in a deep breath as the contraction is building up. And then when it's at its peak,
that's when you push.
So that's when you hold your breath and you push, and you want to push from your stomach muscles. So if I'm pushing and I'm doing, so all my energy is coming here. So there's nothing pushing. So I need to
and like put all your
energy there. And that's why if you go, the nurses will tell you push like you're constipated. Because
and I found that really interesting,
useful.
The fact that that also you push during the contraction. I was like, what do you mean? That's the one time I should be like, don't stress me. I'm like going through the contraction.
But because as I said, the contraction is pushing the baby. So if you don't want to get tired, if you push when there's no contraction, you'll take a very long time. So you want to save your energy and push with the contraction.
And on average, how long is this stage?
So pushing can take up to 2 hours. So because depending, but usually a little trick is have your labor up as upright as possible. So that the baby is well engaged by the time you're 10 centimeters. Because you can be 10 centimeters, but the baby is still high. So if that happens, you push for longer. So the more upright you are during labor, the more your baby, like engages properly, and then pushing is much easier.
Lovely. I mean, if you're watching and you've gone through labor and contractions and everything, we'd love to hear your story. Please just hit us up on social media, or you can just even leave it in the comment section of the YouTube video. I'm just curious to hear everyone's story, because everyone's is different. Now, after birth, contractions do continue, which again is one of those things no one talked about.
And I thought, after pains.
Can you explain what your body is going through?
So contractions not only help bring the baby, but they also help to control bleeding. So after birth, because of course the cord, the placenta had to detach from the uterine wall, so there's some injury on the uterus, and all that leads to bleeding. So if you do not contract, then you will bleed a lot. And so what these after pains do is they actually help in the uterus contracting so that controls your bleeding. So you're going to feel these contractions up to maybe, for some people, even up to a week after, but they're really bad immediately after birth, the first 2-3 days.
Yeah.
And you'll feel them more when you're breastfeeding.
Why?
Yeah.
That was going to be my next question. Why?
Yeah. So breastfeeding, there are 2 hormones involved in breastfeeding.
Yeah.
One is prolactin, it makes milk. Then the other one is oxytocin, which is the same hormone that gives you contraction. So when the baby is breastfeeding, the oxytocin levels are increased, and that creates the contraction. And that's why we say breastfeeding immediately after birth is not only useful to the baby, but it's useful to you because it helps you control the bleeding. Yeah, so we actually want that that after pain that comes. Yes.
Okay. Blood clots.
Yes.
I have to ask you about this one because it's something that, from speaking to a lot of women, takes them by surprise. You know, you think you're done and suddenly there's still something that your body is trying to get rid of. Can you explain what that is?
So I guess, remember when you're pregnant, the uterine wall is really thick with blood supply to, feed the baby through the placenta. So when you give birth, all that, so think of your period, that happens every month during your period. The uterine wall slows off, the blood that had thickened the wall comes out. But now during pregnancy, it was really thick. And so it's going to come out, but we don't want them to be very thick because that could indicate a lot of bleeding. So if you are, because usually most of it comes out immediately after birth. With the placenta and maybe maybe 30-40 minutes. After that, you'll just see blood, like more of blood. So, or if you are in bed for a long time, so when you stand, then you're going to see it. But if you're going to the loo every 20 minutes and you're seeing large clots, that is, you're bleeding too much. You need to speak to your healthcare provider to find out why that's happening. And
how long should that process last? Because I know some of the stories I've heard, women were out and about, and suddenly there's just in public, there's something that you're trying to figure out. What is that? Where did it come from?
So usually what we call lochia, which is the bleeding that happens after birth, should take around 2 weeks or so. After that, but it's usually heaviest the first week. And that's what I'm saying. How to know that you're over bleeding is if you are feeling a pad within 20 minutes, usually 2-3 hours, then you're good. But if 20-30 minutes you go and the pad is full, then that's too much. Again, if you get now large clots like that, and maybe it's been 2-3 weeks after, then that could indicate a problem. So you need to go back to hospital and find out. And a lot of times, the longer you bleed, it means you're not resting enough. So though you have your baby, you need to find time to rest so that your body can heal itself. So if you bleed for very long, it's 6 weeks later, you're still having heavy bleeding, then it probably means that either there's a problem, could be an infection, or you're not resting enough.
Let's talk about the healing process. What are some of the things that we should and shouldn't be doing? You said one of them is for sure resting enough. I know there's one that I used to hear that it doesn't happen anymore as part of the healing process, which is sitting in like salt water. And no.
And that was because of the episiotomy. If you got a tear that was repaired, or you had an episiotomy, is a cut that is put against so that to allow the baby to come out properly. So usually our mothers did it, they would sit on salt. But what has happened is because of the stitches that are being used now, the salt seems to erode them. So you can sit on warm water, just warm water is fine, but it just what you do is keep the area clean. So after a long haul, or even any passing stool especially, take some water, clean it up nicely, and as long as you keep it clean, some doctors will give you a cream, you're going to be okay.
And other things about your body that we should sort of be gentle with?
You know, lots, very heavy activity, for example. So you want to take it slow. That's not the time to go back to the gym to get back into shape. So take it slow. Mild exercise is good, like walking.
And how soon after?
You can walk even from day. Even like when you have a C-section, even a few hours later, you're told, walk to the toilet. So walking helps and is one way to avoid clots, especially, you know, the life-threatening clots that happen in your legs. So you can walk around, you can take your baby for a walk, and that you can do as soon as you feel like it. And that actually also helps, aids in healing, in circulation. Take plenty of fluids. Because you're bleeding, you're losing a lot of fluids.
Okay.
You're breastfeeding.
Yeah.
So your body's
You're still
requirement for
sustaining.
fluids is a lot. So take lots and lots of fluids and then eat well. Eat well. Doesn't mean eat for two, but eat well. Eat a balanced diet.
Yeah.
Eat foods that are rich in iron, like meats and liver and green leafy vegetables and legumes to help your body replenish the blood that has been lost. Yeah. And
so should you keep up with supplements even after?
Actually, yes, you should. You should. If you
yeah.
have them, why not?
Yeah.
Keep up. It just helps your body recover much faster.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. What about your period? I mean, how soon after should you expect your body to come back to normal, to some semblance of normalcy? And that's specifically
that is so specific to everyone.
Okay.
And to every pregnancy.
Okay.
So sometimes this first pregnancy they're back in 6 weeks. The next pregnancy, a year later, they're not there.
Yeah.
So that's, we keep saying it's different with everybody and with every baby, depending on just how your hormones are reacting. Breastfeeding also does affect, because of the hormones, sometimes it can suppress ovulation, which means that you won't have your period. But we always tell everyone, please, 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 the periods, last week I was talking with a mom who got pregnant at 6 weeks. Yes.
No.
And she's like, oh my goodness. Because remember, you ovulate first.
I have so many questions
I
about
know.
that. I'm going to have to ask you like a question or two, but go on. Remember, you ovulate?
You ovulate first, and then like 2 weeks later, that's when you see your period. So if you're not using family planning and you're planning on engaging in sex, then it means that if you do and you're ovulating, you can actually get pregnant even at 6 weeks. Because maybe your period was on its way back. Maybe your hormones were up to par. So it's important before you go back to your bedroom matters, please see your doctor and plan for it so that you are safe. Breastfeeding is not effective because that's what people think. I'm breastfeeding, I'll get pregnant.
Why would they think?
Because sometimes breastfeeding suppresses ovulation. So it went like that, but that doesn't happen for everyone.
For everybody.
Yeah.
I've got to ask you a question related to that. How soon after should you consider being intimate again with your partner?
Depends, the two of you.
But
so for
C-section, your body need some time?
It does. But again, if some women you did not tear during at all, you don't have any tear, you are okay, everything went okay, and 2-3 weeks later you feel there's no minimum. For C-section there is, because of course that was surgery, so at least 6 weeks. But for a normal delivery, it just depends on the two of you. But I think most of us are not ready, even mentally, because of all the things that have gone on in your body.
And there's a
but again, we've been there, we've seen it, women getting pregnant in a month. So it's important that you protect yourself and seek some family planning if you're planning to get back. I mean, that's so interesting just to hear and to understand and to see how much of the myths that we carry with us. We don't know. We don't know. Like that myth, you're breastfeeding, so you should be fine. But that's not true.
Whoa, this has been so enlightening. I can't believe it. I've laughed, I've cringed, I've empathize with the women who are pregnant, but more than anything, I'm really excited that we're at an age where we have all this information, and we have experts who can walk with us, because really that's what you do.
That's what I do. Yes, I walk with women during the process, preparation and supporting you and giving you information. Sometimes it's not out there, so having someone to walk with you, I love it.
I love that too, that we've got that support. So thank you. There's an S-tip for you, but today we've got a twist because I'm going to have Esther share an S-tip specifically for the pregnant women. So take a look.
So if you're wondering how to get enough milk for your baby during breastfeeding, number one, ensure that you breastfeed your baby as often as you can, on demand. When the baby needs to feed, put them on the breast. That's how your brain figures out how much milk to make. The baby is a customer, your brain is a factory. The more you put the customer on the breast, your milk will come. Ensure also that you drink a lot. Drink for two and not eat for two. Around here we eat a lot and we end up not drinking enough. Breast milk is 80% water, so ensure that you drink for two. And porridge is not a drink, it's a food. So lots of clear fluids. They will help you get as much milk as your baby needs.
All right, you heard it.